Hi there, Jonathan here, Central North Island, New Zealand. How are you today? Thanks for joining me. I think today we'll spread some bark on some paths, complete a couple of paths, or complete a path, and just upgrade another path with some bark chip. So let's go and have a look. I won't need a lot up here, so I've just brought a barrow up at the moment. I can go and get another one in a minute. I'm going to spread it on this path through here. Oh look, there's a Thea Rheingold needs planting. That's right, I remember sitting that there the other day. I'd had it somewhere else and it was a bit shady. I thought, no, I'll move it, but I'll put it somewhere else before I get it in the ground. So we've got a path here. That piece of log doesn't belong here. It's just making a little bridge till I finish that drain. I need to put some drain coil in there and some gravel over the top. So we've got this path through here, and it'll go off up that way, and there'll be a pergola built here as well. So there'll be a big pergola going up across and down, obviously, shape of a pergola, which this rose will be able to grow over, whose name eludes me at the moment. Is relatively new, a few months old, so it hasn't gone in my brain very well yet. It's Moon something. I think it's a musk rose as well. So I've got this path here. I've put these old wooden edgings along the side just to keep the mulch off it, but I'm going to lay bark just because it's a slightly different texture than the mulch. And those are some more of the pavers I made, like I was showing you in my other video of odd tasks. So I'm just going to bark them up until you get to that big round planter there. It can be a tricky thing, changing products for paths. You've got to do it, you've got to be careful, because you can really muff it up. You can get away with it if you're doing what I'm doing. You change direction. If you do what I do, you won't go wrong. That's not what I mean though. If you change direction and you've got different textures around it, so obviously we're going bark there, we've just got the gravel between it here. You can get away with it. So it's same sort of colours, but it's going a different direction, and we're going to be changing shape under a pergola with plants growing over it, and got these grasses, or grass there, the grass there that are going to grow around it. So you can get away with, we can change textures and shapes. That's the way to do it. So this will be barked along here. So this is now a relatively, I call it a new garden still. This was all grass up here. We had about 5 trees which are still here. We used to call it our upper arboretum. But now it's all garden. I put it in September last year, so it's about 8 months old, 8.5 months. So things are growing well. Deciduous trees have dropped their leaves. So that makes it look a little more naked. And those that like the shade are probably a little happier because the sun's not so intense. So I'm expecting big things this year. So it got through, it got a good grow season of spring and summer. And it's in winter now, so I'm looking for big things at the end of this year. So I'm going to bark through to here, and then I see I've got this curve in the path and a big planter there, which has got parahebes are going to spill out over the edge. I've actually bought a prostrate conifer, and I'm turning it into a standard. I wanted a bluey colour. So he'll get up, I want it up about 5 foot, which is about the top of that little green stake that it's on. 5 foot in total off the ground. So that creates sort of a wall barrier diversion in the path, which is another good place for the path to change texture here. Exactly what it will be. I think it will be just small sort of stones through here, just to match this rocks on the side. Feel free to let me know in the comments what you think. but I think that's a good thing because I wanted to change texture. Remembering this has got to grow quite a bit and plants are going to hang over. I've put grasses kind of on the path, of course, so that they sort of get in your way. They won't really be in your way, but it'll just slow you down and it'll be a more of a ambling kind of a path. So, you know, there'll be stuff growing on the side. I think there's actually a peony there, which is that one there. I just happen to know I put it there. He's died down for winter. So there are things growing and there'll be more coming in, especially as they get bigger as well. There's a few more grasses on the left there. So I think stones probably all the way along this one, just sort of half-inch kind of stones, just a little gravel path. So if we look back along it, this end will have a pergola as well, probably just a little wooden 4-post simple one. I've got a clematis in here to grow up it. So we gravel along here. Once again, I've got a gate there jutting out just to add a bit of intersection. See how you can't actually see straight through. It is a straight path or straight line down to my wheelbarrow, but I've created corners and diversions and barriers so you can't see and don't know, especially once the plants grow up. But even with the gate, you kind of get kicked slightly to the left here, a little wiggle in the path, and you've got that big planter. You can sort of get a sneak through to the other side. Once you get that standard growing, it'll take a little bit of room at the top, but take up a bit of space. So that's my plan, to get bark in here and then turn these into stones. But we'll start with the bark right now, which will be pretty easy. I'm just going to throw it on top of that gravel and then just rake it round until it meets the edges. Well, there you go. That's that little job done. The rain's going to soak into the bark and make it a bit heavier so it won't flick around as much. I don't think the wind's not going to blow it in here. It's too sheltered down at ground level behind all of those plants and bits of timber. Birds might flick it out a bit, but heck, they do that with everything. It doesn't really matter. It just defines the path. Once the things grow, it'll be all good. I could have brought my little blower just to blow the dust off, but I'm sure the rain will do that. There'll be rain sometime, so I'll see how I go later. So this is how this path came up. So before I spread the rest of this bark on another path in the maple garden, I'm going to just sieve a little bit of it. I need some for some pots to put with the potting mix I've got. I couldn't find any small enough, so I'm going to make my own. So I'll just sieve this. So that's probably enough fine stuff for my big pots later on. So we're in the maple garden, and those are the steps behind me we're going to top up. There's another set of steps over this side as well. You can't see them from there. And they're just a little bit low. They had bark on them a year or so ago and they've just subsided a little. I'll show you from the top coming down. So it's just a small job, but it's just one of those jobs to make it easier to walk up and down and not trip over. We call this the maple garden. Obviously it's got some maples in it. I was waiting for quite a few years to be able to get a few maples. We've got quite a few now, but it took a bit of windbreak planting and shelter from trees that were already here. There's a few big cherry trees and the same up yeah, around the property there's a few trees growing. They're not huge yet, but we're getting there. This garden's doing pretty well, apart from the 2 maples that I moved just the other week that you saw. And yeah, I think it'll be all right. Anyway, I'll show you these steps and we'll get that done. So it's not a huge expanse, this garden, but it's got a few maples in it, amongst other trees as well, of course. Quite a few evergreen things. But you come down past this bird bath that I made. It's made out of schist, which is a rock, South Island rock, schist. S-C-H-I-S-T. And it's got bunches of grapes and stuff on it. I've got some leaves actually that I need to weld onto it. However, that's not what I came to tell you about. What I came to tell you about was the path splits left and right of the central planting here. And you can see where I've stained those bits of timber. I didn't do the back of the timber, but you can see they're a bit low. So this make it, when you walk down the steps, they're a little bit harder to walk down because you've got to, if I actually get down at ground level, you'll see they're about nearly 2 inches subsided, which looks slightly unfinished now, and also it's just harder to walk on because you're already 2 inches below the step when you go to step over. So simple little job. I'll just throw some more bark on there. So after sieving that last lot and just keeping a bit for my pots, and I did the other path around the pavers, which only took a couple of barrow loads, I'll stick some on here and just fill up these 2 paths. You can see they get a little bit worse as you get down. I don't think it's going to take very much to fill these up. I think I'll probably still have some left in my supply that I bought the other day. I might just keep them a little bit high of the steps, put a bit more up on that landing in a minute. I might just keep them slightly proud on the front, just so it could possibly squash down or rot down. I guess it hasn't dropped too much. Like I said, it's been, well, I don't know when I put this bark on actually. Might have been last year. Probably been here at least a year. And the steps were actually, I made them and filled probably just with soil as opposed to an aggregate, gravel. And that's completed with all the low areas filled up. The gaps are now filled with bark, so that's a lot better. Well, thanks for joining me on this path restoration and completion day with bark chip. I've got a few more paths to make and complete, mostly using aggregates and concrete and things, so they get a little bit sort of harder materials. So keep an eye out for those. They'll come out over this next week or so. Thanks a lot. If you like what you've seen, like me or subscribe or make a comment. We'll see you next time. See you later. Bye.